for everybody that made it over to Lord Brunson's channel to watch me break down the salary cap and talk a little salary cap with Lord Brunson. Guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in for that. Listen, today's video, guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about the wide receiver core and this idea of us, who we might have here as our wide receiver coach, guys. I'm going to get into a little depth about running routes in the NFL and like some of the terminology and some of the philosophical differences that could occur here between coaches. So let's get into it. What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever it is you get around to watching this. Once again, guys, my name is Steven Hyder, and this is Gate City Sports Channel. All right, guys, today we're talking about wide receiver coaches. Big topic of discussion with Nick Sirianni, right? Because, let's be real, Nick Sirianni is by trade a wide receiver coach. He played some wide receiver in college, and this is the position he told us he is going to focus on. And I got to be honest with you guys, there is a lot of big decisions coming up with what we do here. From what I understand from reports rolling in, and let's be real, you never know how accurate these reports are, but we're just going to take them at their face value, that there's no deception, that they're vetting their sources correctly, which, let's be real, a lot of these guys don't do. But let's take them at face value here. From the instruction or the reporting I've received is that the only instruction given to Nick Sirianni in regards to coaching was about Jeff Stoutland. Apparently, the Eagles front office saw it as a big sticking point if a coach wanted to move in an opposite direction of Jeff Stoutland. The front office wanted Jeff Stoutland here, guys. So that tells you how they value that. But they made nothing known of the rest of these coaches. So it makes you wonder about Aaron Moorehead, who was the sixth receiver coach we've had in 6 seasons. So let me start our discussion by talking about what I think about Aaron Moorehead, okay? So let me start there. So let's get into that. I actually like Aaron Moorehead, guys. I think Aaron Moorehead's a good coach. It's difficult to say some of these things, guys, and to say what I really think, because it's hard to judge what you're seeing on the field, but I'll just say this. Some of the crazy mistakes I saw occurring when it came to Carson Walch, right? I didn't see those mistakes happening with Aaron Moorehead. I didn't see guys who were out there like failing to run switch routes. You can't fail to run a switch route at the NFL level, guys. It's an embarrassment. Like, I legitimately felt embarrassed at the product we threw out on the field in 2019 from the play of receivers. I could tell that Carson Walch was just a bad receiver coach. I'm not saying that he'll be bad in the future. I mean, guys improved, don't get me wrong, but he was bad in 2019 as a receiver coach. Let me just put that out there how I feel right away, guys. Like, I can't justify what I saw. The fact that we had to move our head coach, we had to move our offensive coordinator, and we had to move our backup quarterback in 2019 out to the wide receiver position group to train guys. It was more than just a necessity of having to bring in a bunch of new guys. It was more than just calling up Greg Ward Jr. It was more than just implementing Burnett into the receiving game. It was more than implementing Rob Davis. It was greater than that. It was Carson Walch wasn't doing a good job. I didn't see that kind of struggle with Aaron Moorehead. I thought the guys were, from what I could tell, pretty well coached. Everything I saw coming out of camp showed a guy that understood what pertinent drills to run. I understood the techniques he was teaching. Like, it made sense. Like, I can't say that I felt that there was a big lacking there. Now, we can say, like, man, we still need production, though. Like, yeah, we do. We need more development and production out of our receivers, but I'm not going to say that 2020 season was easy with aging guys on the roster who were injured, constantly coming in and out of the lineup. Like, it wasn't an easy sell. So, I'm not down on Aaron Moorehead personally, guys. I would be perfectly fine with Aaron Moorehead returning. Like, I don't have reservations there. He has connections back to Indianapolis. I don't know that he knows Nick Sirianni personally, but, he was a football player in Indianapolis. So, I mean, clearly, from a front office standpoint and some of the key players within the city itself, I mean, I'm pretty sure they got pretty obvious connections here. Like, I don't think they have never known of each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like, clearly, there's something here. But I don't know, guys. We'll see. I mean, I think the obvious and first candidate here is that they would retain Aaron Moorehead. But let's get into some of the guys that they, natural moves they would make if they don't retain Aaron Moorehead. And I'll get into some of the specifics of why you might not retain a coach who's not a bad coach. Like, there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. Like, he's not a horrible coach. I'll get into why you still might make that. What's the obvious move here, guys? The obvious move is to elevate Kevin Patullo back to wide receiver coach. Why would you elevate him? He knows the system. He was the wide receiver coach in Indianapolis until Mike Groh arrived. Mike Groh, obviously being, somewhat familiar with what was going on there with the system installed, because you got guys like Frank Reich, who's the head coach there, who coached together with Groh. Groh kind of replaced him as the offensive coordinator in Philly. I mean, Kevin Patullo was just kind of like the odd man out. Let's be real. Mike Groh is a top 5, top 10 at minimum, just to be safe here, wide receiver coach in this league. Like, Mike Groh is good at a wide receiver coach. Like, he's a very good, coach in that manner. Kevin Patullo already being the passing game coordinator, it makes a lot of sense just to kind of slide Kevin Patullo into the wide receiver coach. But let me speak to the specifics of why we would replace Aaron Moorehead with Kevin Patullo when maybe it's a wash between what they are as coaches in terms of like their abilities. So let me get into like why there could be scheme differences. Like, what is it about route running and stuff like that that would cause kind of an unnecessary move to occur in a sense. Before I get into any specifics about route running, just know that there is an element of friendship here, right? Like, you can't discount the fact that these guys are friends, Kevin Patullo and, Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni, being a wide receiver coach himself, has some trust here. So I'm not avoiding that topic, guys. I know it's there, okay? But let me talk about some things from a scheme standpoint that can happen, right? The obvious being is, like, what if a guy believes in motion and another guy doesn't believe in motion to beat certain coverages, like press coverage, right? Sure, there could be philosophical differences like that, guys, of course, right? But it could be more specific to the types of releases that are used and the techniques taught for the release, right? So, I mean, you got different things you can use here, guys. I mean, you can use a speed release. You can have a space release. There could be different elements taught between, like, will you allow a guy to use a single or a double move upon the release? So single move, think like head fake, like you head fake one way and you cut the other way. Upon the release, like when you get even with the cornerback. Getting even, guys, means is when you bring the back foot even with the front foot and you square yourself to the cornerback. You always want to get even with the cornerback. So if he's got inside or outside leverage, it's not just getting your foot, even. It's getting even with that defender to take away the leverage. So you can get into a speed release. You can get into, a single move, a double move. You can get into those different, hand fighting. Can I swim move? Can I rip move? So swim move mean coming over the top. Rip move mean moving them out of the way, right? Can I do those things? Like, what is the coaching style here? Like, what do they believe in? If I'm the wide receiver coach, do I even want my guys going through all of this? Like, or would I much rather them just be motioned? Like, those things can be sticking points with coaches. Like, don't get me wrong, that can be there. What about when you're trying to stack the corner? Stacking the corner means, very, very basic terms, guys, what I'm talking about is getting the defensive back into a trailing mode behind the receiver, okay? If I gain the leverage, what am I allowed to do with said leverage? Leverage meaning, if I want an outside release, I have the cornerback on my inside, so I had the outside. What am I allowed to do here? Can I chop him? Can I swipe him, right? Can I wipe at him? Like, chop, swipe. You know what I mean? Like, what am I allowed to do at the stem? Can I stare and step, right? A stare and step means I take my inside foot, right? And I get into the defender. So I'm getting into the defender with my inside foot, and then I'm cutting back. I'm cutting out away from him. Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams are phenomenal at the stare and step, guys. Can I pressure step, right? I mean, pressure step meaning can I get vertical on the inside shoulder? Well, depending on the direction you're standing, because I'm looking at a mirrored lens, but the inside shoulder of a defender, act like I'm getting vertical and then cut? Am I allowed to do that in your system? Can I jerk step, which is basically, simply put, guys, it's when I get into the inside shoulder and I'm faking a pressure step like I'm going to go outside. So I get into the inside shoulder, then I pressure step, and then I get back vertical on you again. You know, similar to a rocker step, if you will. Like, can I do those things? Will your system allow me to do that? Okay. What's your ruling for if I gain the top of the route stem and I got off coverage on me? Okay, so I got a guy that's bailing. He's playing a bail concept, so his eyes are inside at the quarterback, and I see that. Can I option route? Would you trust me to get to the blind spot and option route? Does the receiver coach put that much faith in the receiver? These are all philosophical differences that can occur, guys. So I don't know if there's going to be a difference in opinion between these guys with what to do. All right? That part I cannot predict for you. But let me get into some candidates that this guy's worked with in his past coaching experience who might be outside of Kevin Patullo to end the video, okay? Nick Sirianni is a very interesting group of guys he's worked at wide receiver that just kind of fell off the face of the earth once they got surpassed by Nick Sirianni on the coaching tree. They're not old guys. They're all in their mid to later 40s. I mean, they're not that old, but they got really interesting history. So back in Kansas City, the first guy he worked with was Richie Anderson, former player in the league. If you guys remember Richie Anderson, it's probably because he got busted for a prostitution ring. That might be why you remember that name, guys. So a lot to make of what to do here with that information, right? Past Richie Anderson, the next guy that he worked with was Dedrick Ward, and Dedrick Ward was actually before Richie Anderson, I believe. Dedrick Ward is an older guy. He coached for a long time in the NFL, but then he just, he fell out and became a teacher. He's teaching in Iowa now. He's a high school teacher. I'm pretty sure he's coaching high school football. Would the guy re-enter the league to coach again as a wide receiver coach? I mean, or is their bond that tight? Are they that close? Would he bring a Dedrick Ward back? He's only in his later 40s, mid to late 40s. He's not that old. There's Fred Graves. Fred Graves coached with Carolina, then San Diego. He's been around for a while. I mean, Fred Graves, if you remember the name Fred Graves, you might remember this is the guy that believed in wide receivers practicing catching bricks to improve their hands. That's Fred Graves. It's a unique concept here. I don't know how useful it is, but certainly theatrical. I mean, say what you will. I mean, maybe he's tight with Fred Graves from his time in with the Chargers. I mean, Fred Graves was kind of around the Chargers situation for a while, and he may be very important to the elevation of Nick Sirianni getting that wide receiver position. I don't know. Maybe they're tight. Maybe that would make sense. One of the young assistants that he's trained in Indianapolis was Gunnar Twyer. Gunnar something, guys. He became the wide receiver coach for a while, Louisiana Lafayette. I mean, maybe he would bring somebody up like that. These are the guys that he's worked with. It's an interesting list, but I don't know how qualified any of these guys are that he has connections to. I mean, I don't know, guys. Just because they're not currently coaching doesn't mean they're really good at what they do, but it would be risky. Let's just be real. This would be very, very risky. I mean, I personally would just prefer Aaron Moorehead or Kevin Patullo, but I don't know, guys. I mean, it is what it is. My final thoughts are that maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a connection he has that maybe he didn't coach with him, but they're just good friends. It's possible, guys. I mean, I can't know every single connection of the guy, but I don't know. I mean, I really think it comes down to how they view Kevin Patullo and Aaron Moorehead. I mean, did they want Aaron Moorehead as the wide receiver coach, and do they want Kevin Patullo more so working with designing, the passing concepts? I mean, I don't know, guys. This is an interesting dynamic to have here. I don't know how they're going to resolve this. I mean, take your guess. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, right? You guys tell me what you think. Do you got any names that you want to see? Is there a guy? I know some of you guys are probably going to throw out some Hines Wards. I think Hines Ward he might have been let go by the Jets. I mean, I don't know if there's a connection, but I know the name. I mean, the name makes sense. I mean, throw some names out there. I guess we can talk back and forth about them, guys, but these are the guys I found in terms of having a connection back to the coach. So let me know your thoughts, guys. I mean, there's definitely a lot of wide receiver coaches around the league and in college and, former players. we can venture down a bunch of avenues. If you want to support the channel, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you guys want more information about learning about route running, just DM me on like Twitter or something, just at HiderSteve. Or you can get me on Instagram, which is I think Steve or Steven _ Hider or Hider _ Steven. Something like that, guys. Just look up my name, I'll pop up. All right, guys. Peace. I'm out of here.